Welcome to the Transformative Technology chapter in Paris. And now, Guillaume, your turn.
Bienvenue tout le monde dans le chapitre TransTech. Nous sommes très heureux de vous recevoir aujourd'hui. Nous avons hâte de vous entendre et de vous écouter et de partager avec vous ce moment unique.
Perfect. So this was the welcome from the real French native person speaking in French, not like mine. So, oh, we have more French natives. Oh, hey. So we just started, and today, this is the third event, and we still do it virtually, although Paris has taken away major restrictions, so people can go out, and what people do, people go out, and especially in France. So when you walk through the Paris, you can see everything as it kind of was before, except public transit requires masks and some other restrictions for large gatherings. Anyways, I think, let's see, maybe in August or September, the next event, fourth event, might be physical. Of course, every person here in Paris and in France looking forward to that, because that's the culture and that's the nature, how we communicate and how we meet each other. But today, number 3, we still have online, and today we have 4 very interesting speakers. And before I introduce the speakers, what I usually do as the regular introduction to the community itself, because not everyone is aware of what is the community. So that's why I usually share the screen and I introduce what is Transformative Technology Community. That's a large network of people, and mostly people who think about how to improve people's lives, well-being, flourishing. And it all started quite a few years ago from Silicon Valley in California. And there were people working on technologies, how technologies can help people to achieve a better state, quality of life. And that community has been growing over the years, and there were annual conferences in November. The last one was in the last November. The next might be again in November, but it's not sure whether that's going to be virtual or physical because of the circumstances. But in any case, we can use these digital channels to continue interacting. So that's the main gateway to the community. It's the transformativetech.org. And then we have the different tabs. There is a conference, there is a lab, there is TransTech 200, and so forth. And then over years, the realization was that why only Silicon Valley? Why? Because there are so many great people, great talent, great companies, entrepreneurs, investors, scientists who are around the world. And therefore, the community started to open up the chapters. And you can see London, Los Angeles, Queensland, New York, Toronto, San Francisco. Here we go, Paris. Paris chapter started this year, earlier, I think in March, with the first event, April, May, something around that. And here we go. If somebody hasn't joined the community, this is the opportunity. You can go to the main website, you can go to the Paris chapter, and here you can request to join. And I was voted in as the leading this, and I'm enjoying to lead this community building exercise for all of the people who are caring about technology, design, and all the other aspects that can contribute to the well-being and flourishing. What else do we have? In the community, we have this intranet, which is the platform for the members. So once you subscribe to the community, you get access, you can have the access to this network. And for example, on that network, I've got a reminder about today's event because it was scheduled there. So those people who join the community, they get onto the Transformative Technology Network. And then within that network, you can also subscribe to TransTech Paris. And then you have all the news about the TransTech Paris on that network in a specific group, which is named TransTech Paris. And there I create these events where people can see what's going to happen and what happens today. So today we have all of these nice people plus all of the nice participants. And it's about the NeuroSmart. So we will touch a little bit into the very interesting part of our human psychology, physiology. So it's about our understanding our brains, neurons to some degree, and how to interrelate that knowledge with the different aspects of our lives. Some interesting individual experiences will be shared, and different stories you will hear. And there are some of our experts will be speaking how that neurocomplexity can be similar to our experiences with organizations as well later. And then also how we human beings, the better we are mastering our consciousness and our brains, and our willingness can also master different kind of senses like hunger as the example. So that's and this is the list of the speakers, and maybe today I will stop here, and you can see these are the 4 names. We will start with Avi, and then we will go to Guillaume and William from Agence Iro, and they will speak about their magic that they do. And we will conclude with Stibe as a habit coach from Habit Lab. So, and myself, yeah, TransTech Paris lead, that's me, still founder of transforms.me. That's the website of transformation science and practice that I'm continuously developing. I also have recently built a YouTube channel, so if anyone is interested about what I'm delivering on a daily basis, there are some news and insights in that. Well, I will then stop sharing screen right now, and what we're gonna do next? The next, we're gonna have all of the speakers speaking as in a list as I presented, and on average, every speaker will have 10 to 15 minutes. And after all the speakers have finished, so I will try to moderate that. And in the end, we usually have the questions and answers. Of course, if there is a very urgent question, of course, we can have a quick discussion after each speaker. We will keep it flexible. And here we go. So Avi, floor is yours. 10 to 15 minutes, your story. I found it very inspiring, very encouraging, and very powerful. So you can start there, and then you can also speak more about your feeling today, and also how we would see the future from the perspective of your past and your knowledge. Over to you.
Thanks, Agnis, and it was a pleasure. I mean, from day one that we met, and I'm really appreciative that you allowed me this talk. So first of all, I welcome questions in the middle. I have no issue. You know, it's like really weird to talk in front of a screen and not in front of an audience, and different energies. So please feel free to stop me at any minute. I will share my personal story, and there is a TED Talk about it if you'd like to dive deeper, because I will run. At the age of 26, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Till then, I was a very healthy person. Not only that it was shocking, I found out that it's inoperable. There is no way to operate on me without leaving me crippled, both physically and mentally. And there started the journey of my life of obviously studying medicine as quick as I could, obviously not 7 years, with a bomb ticking in my brain, and coming up with technologies that would allow me to understand whether it's a malignant tumor and I only have 2-3 months to live, or benign and maybe I have 2-3. And my background is physics and electrical engineering, so obviously I like to understand deeply everything. And but when you have a brain ticking in your brain, in your head, you suddenly lose your skepticism and you become very curious and optimistic about any whatever you'd call stupid person that promises that he can save your life. And I started going to any alternative medicine that you can dream of, and switched my scientific skeptical behavior to optimistically curious. understanding that the really big scientists of our times, you know, the Da Vinci and Galileos and Archimedes, etc., they saw a phenomena that was unexplainable. And their curiosity basically allowed them to research till they understood. And gradually I became aware of that my life, and I was doing an undergraduate in electrical engineering in Tel Aviv University in parallel to graduate degree. I did my undergrad in 2.5 years. And I had 2 startups in parallel. And of course I had social life, meaning I slept 4 hours every second day. And I managed very well up to, you know, depleting my 8-year battery in 10 years. And gradually I learned and changed my habits and thoughts and nutrition, but it still didn't help me. And I needed to go through surgeries, and I had like major surgeries. The first one in New York took 2 days, shown on CNN, and 2 more in Germany, and 1 in Israel. And 6 years, I mean, of suffering and frustration led me to invent the need, whatever my surgeon needed, a tiny stereoscopic 3D camera that is, whoops, there's an echo, that is based on nano-optical elements and image processing instead of the conventional optomechanical, and going through the, you know, all the hassles of developing startups and the 2008 and 2001 and 8 bust, and just didn't give up. The funny thing is that the biggest hurdle was market acceptance. And although we had lots of, we basically enabled like transnasal or trans-key eyebrow approaches to deep-seated lesions. And although we had very credible literature by the leading university hospitals, it was very, very difficult to educate the market. It takes forever and costs a fortune. And you know, using the latest technology, the technology becomes obsolete very fast. And we had to develop 3 generations of cameras. And obviously that's tens of millions of dollars, and to invest additional tens of millions in market education, till eventually it became accepted in the norm in the market. And the company was eventually acquired by Medtronic, that is doing a much better job than us in market education. And I returned to Israel to try and live like a maybe normal human being. And but I came to many realizations, because most of the patients that were operated minimal invasively still died. And first of all, I understood that the disease is not our enemy, okay? This is the language of our body to convey that something is wrong, okay? And if I have a headache and I'm taking a pill, I'm basically I'm telling my body, shut up, I don't want to listen. Instead of listening and trying to figure out what's wrong. Maybe I didn't sleep, maybe I'm stressed out, maybe I'm dehydrated. And the same, I mean, we are all, when we're tired, instead of like, you know, meditating or sleeping for a nap, we immediately drink coffee. I mean, and we developed all these habits, and I'm happy to hear more the habits talk later on, that are basically our basic disrespect to this most amazing machine. And I also understood, and that there is, among adults, there is a correlation between chronic emotions. Chronic emotions, I mean like someone who's typically angry or typically sad, not to mention depressed, etc. So there is a correlation between these and chronic diseases that obviously typically take years and many years to develop. And then I said that as a technologist, instead of developing technologies to allow physicians to deal with a disease, why don't I develop technologies either to enhance resilience of people, knowing that the world now is extremely intensive and stressful. Again, other people are stressed for other reasons, and or for early diagnostics, because I mean, I was really lucky. I had a motorcycle accident, and that caused, that rushed me to the hospital, and this is how I learned early of my tumor. And nowadays you could see that not only that people are living longer, they're developing more diseases at a younger age. So while we live more years, we will live many of them with chronic diseases. And the question is, what can we do now when we're still healthy, to stay healthy and happy? And I'm very respectful of Western medicine, but A, it's passive, it's too expensive. It typically, it eliminates the chronic symptom and does not cure. And from my perspective, it's just, it's unsustainable long-term. So the question is, what can we do to serve not only A, humanity, and B, physicians, and provide them, you know, with personalized, predictive, preventative elements, obviously using neuromodulation and neuroplasticity, focusing on developing new habits, technologies that can identify and quantify moods, emotions, because and that will enable research to hopefully prove that these are precursors to health issues, and generally speaking, allow to focus on health and wellness and happiness, and not on diseases. I'm doing my best to promote this idea, obviously not alone, and obviously very supportive of TransTech. I also co-founded Joy Ventures with a few other excellent people, and left them. It's managed by Miri. And now I'm just in the last mile of setting up a new fund. Again, it's to support health tech. I realize that this market is very conservative, so you basically need to look with a futuristic approach, trying to understand how many years will it take, this adoption cycle, that your solution will become standard, and developing accordingly. Also understanding that technology will continue to progress, I mean, accelerate, and I assume that we will have less time, and location will mean less and less, etc. So obviously we need to take all these into consideration. So I'm now mentoring and supporting and investing in startups that I would say present quantum leaps, okay? Not in Me Too, but in dealing with issues that can actually significantly help humanity with major issues. And this is the majority of my focus nowadays. I think I will cut here, and I will probably leave more time for questions and others to talk.
Thank you. So I don't know like how much people get from your personal story, but I invite everyone who really wants to have the full-fledged, very concentrated your personal story. That's I shared the link, and that's also available on the YouTube. Just type in the name, surname, and TEDx talk, and it's there. So I was really kind of, I don't know, like impressed. That would be possibly the word. And currently you continue doing and supporting and funding and creating opportunities for startups and organizations that would make this, as you say, quantum leaps.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And maybe the only question that I have at this moment is, what do you think about Neuralink?
You know, the answer that I love conveying shortly is I don't know, because when you're saying I don't know, it leaves you very open and flexible. And I think that This is the state of mind, okay? Because you know who has the ability to foresee the future, right? But I would say that also I lack the ability to foresee what solution will succeed and not, but I welcome any quantum leap solution and I wish it success, but even if it will fail, it will create other siblings that may succeed. Because it's not just about being right, it's being at the right window of opportunity, okay? And I can tell you that Vision Sense, with all due respect to amazing technology and clinicals, what really made it happen is the movie Avatar, with 3D becoming very populistic and having like also phenomenal 3D displays. Okay, so with all due respect, it had nothing to do with me other than maybe me being lucky. So it should be very, very modest and very conservative on one hand and dreaming and thinking long-term on the other. And how does it match? I don't know, but this is the need.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a very good, inspirational beginning and also promising with what is actually essential for the long term, for sustaining. And actually what I would say the one sentence was very important for everyone to kind of remember is, if the body tells you something, you better listen and not get it silenced. And this is what I've been practicing, and that many other people, especially in our community, but also it's kind of naturally spread. So our super machine knows a great deal of the history and it knows what to tell you and when to tell you. And it's all about your cognition and awareness and consciousness to listen to it. But now I would like to transition with this kind of a...
If I may, I mean, just like any muscle,
sure.
The more that you practice it, the better you'll be, and you can reach like just unbelievable capabilities, you know, connecting the head brain with the heart brain and the gut brain. And we basically typically activate too much the head brain, and we're taught in school and university, and we're not taught intuition, and we're not taught there is no other choice but to develop it ourselves and become more whole, you know.
Thank you. Yes, I just recently was on a podcast from UK, and there is a great person, Adrian Hales, and he is all about Embed. It's a multi-brain, and he is an expert in that. And it's so empowering to know. It's just this younger brother with a 3 million years of experience comparing to this millions, like 300 millions for the lizard brain, but there is the whole other molecular and biological evolution that is so intelligent. And yes, we are here to develop technologies to access that intelligence.
Yep.
Now over to the local French representatives to entertain us, because that's an agency with a very interesting perspective of how the neuroscience and the deeper understanding of our brains can actually tell us much more about our other experiences, whether that's organizational, whether that's life, whether that's arts, whether that's dancing, whether that's something on the street. So the floor is yours.
Okay, no, hashtag no pressure again. Again, Avi, thank you for your talk. That was damn. I don't know what to say after a talk like this. So I'm going to try to do something as much interesting as what you said to us. Yes. So hello everyone again. I'm Guillaume, and I'm not alone because I'm with William, who worked with me on the project. Actually, Iro is a kind of agency that we're specialized now in change management and transformation and pedagogical and education engineering. I will say why later. The approach that we have is really focused on neuroscience and neurobiology. So I prepared something because I'm really bad in English and I need my kind of my drawings, so everything is more understandable. So everyone see the screen now? Yes? Okay, perfect then. Yeah, what I said is a story about neurobiology, dance, and society. So why should actually my background is from biotechnology, and then I switched to neurobiology and cognitive and behavioral neuroscience. But I just made a quick stop in my way to there, because I stopped several years to become a dancer. Actually, when I was in my undergraduate studies that I did in Canada, I just fell in love into dance, and particularly hip hop dance and urban cultures for many things. Because first, it's something that you're free to do whatever you want to do. It's a kind of discipline that you learn to just, you dance with your own body. So what's interesting when you look at hip hop videos is you have everyone with every kind of different bodies. And that's something that's really important, because this is the philosophy that we get into it. It's focused on improvisations, which is something that really at the core of now new innovative processes. And it's also focused on what we call peer learning, because when you're into the hip hop culture, usually you don't have any teacher or master. So you learn together as a group. And so I stopped several years, and I had a dance company actually, and we just that was kind of a creative lab. So we did everything that we could do. We designed events, we designed shows, we designed numeric solutions, we did our communication. So that was kind of like a jack of all trades company, and just everything was flowing around, and we just were curious and wanted to learn everything. And when you're talking about arts and dance, actually dance is very good field to study society, because you have you can have background into art, you have all the background when you talk about the body, and you guys were formidable saying that, of course, in cognition, we have this thing called embodied cognition, embodiment, where Francisco Varela said that, okay, there's no mind and body. This is just one and only thing, and all the process. And when you have like neural systems, usually, as you said, Avi, usually we think about just the brain between your ears, but actually the whole neural system is just nerves coming along all throughout the body, and feeding into signals and stimuli coming from all around the environment. So when you design a dance piece, actually you can have designing like a small society, when you can play with the rules, and then you can study it. So how do you interact together? How do you create together? How do you synchronize together? How do you feel together as one and whole body? There's nothing more beautiful than when you see a choreography and you see everyone without seeing each other, they can feel the body around there and just be synchronized as a TikTok, as a clockwork. So this is kind of, we decided to have this dance as a big lab. And we study different fields. So how do we create? How do we interact? How do we innovate? How do we communicate? How do we perceive the world? And one of my passions is education and pedagogy. So how do you transfer all your knowledge to someone else? And the more we were studying, so I just took back to, again, my back research, which was the neuroscience and cognitive. And every time I had a questions, I went back to the books. So how this process is really working. And then the more we were studying, the more we were saying, okay, apparently this seems to be exactly the same thing all the time. Creation, interaction, innovation, I don't know what we use different words, but it seems to be exactly the same thing. So we just like, okay, so the thing is the brain. So if we study the brain, might be somewhere something called like a global cognitive function. Because if you talk about perception, if you talk innovation, communication, it's always seems to be the same process. So what is the link between? And the more and more I studied, the more and more I think, okay, the only way to deal with so much complexity, the world is really complex. Actually, we have more than 5 senses, 9 senses, and in less than 300 milliseconds, we get to deal with all this billions and billions of informations in a very small amount of time. So in order to deal with so much complexity, the system has to be very simple, because if you deal complexity with complexity, then you put something against more complex and then you lose time. And this is the challenge, the time reaction. So at the end, everyone seems to say that the brain is something complex, but maybe this is something that is not complex. The machine is complex, but maybe that the software that's running the machine is not that complex. It's something pretty easy. So I went back to the books and I studied like stem cells, because that seems to be something that been interesting. Stem cells are actually cells that are undifferentiated, And when you put them into a specific environment, then they change and they become more specific into cells for lungs, muscles, liver, heart, neuron. And I say, okay, so we just are, okay, I'm Darwinist, so I believe in evolution. So might it be the same system? So for the cognitive function, maybe we have like something that we can call a STEM cognitive function. And depending on the environment that we had in the past, that we grow, again, you said that we have a lot of the memory of entire generation in ourselves. So maybe it became specific cognitive function like perception, action, language, learning, creativity. So I was kind of going to the quest of like a global algorithm of intelligence. So was, okay, do we have something? And then after years of study, I tried to design what we call the global approach here at Iro, so of intelligences. The idea was, okay, everything seems to be connected, so there might be like a primary function. Again, every organ has its own functions. Lungs has to deal with air, heart has to pump the blood. So every organ has to have its function. So what is the function, the primary function of our brain? I said, and that's a hypothesis. Again, this is why I'm here, just to challenge the thing that I'm saying. So do not hesitate to answer and help me. Or say that you do not agree and have other hypotheses. But the hypothesis is that the main function is real-time adaptation to complex environments. And this is all the complexity of the system is designed to be this, because you cannot prevent, as I said, the environment is so complex that you cannot prevent what's going to happen in the next few milliseconds. So you have to have the whole system designed to adapt in real time. And again, real time is kind of tricky because again, you have a conscious decision coming up in 300 milliseconds. So we have again a small delta button. But in order to do this primary function, then you have to compile different secondary functions. Problem generations, which is something that kind of important, because when you're talking about AI, again, today, one of the things that prevent AI to be like a true intelligence is they cannot generate their own problem, which the human brain do. And problem generations is like the key. We said that problems are the intelligence engines, because you need to have problems every time. And I like what you said before, just do not focus on having a perfect solution, because it doesn't work, it doesn't exist, and it won't work. Because if you have something that is perfect, which means something that is balanced, then you don't have any need to do something else, because you find perfection. So where is the motivation to find something new, to explore, to invent? Problem solving, innovation, conception, strategy, learning, communication, UX. I'm teaching actually communication and UX, and they asked me to do 2 different courses. And I said, why? They said, because this is 2 different things. I said, no, this is not 2 different things. This is the same thing. When you design a communication campaign or a UX for an application, this is the same concept that you have to use. And we designed this approach, connecting things together. And now we use it for, actually, it's a bit too much, but we use it for everything. This is our philosophy. This is like kind of a method to run a project. This is something that actually in judgment management we use to design teams. Okay, you have 2 people, then this is the functions that we need for your people, for you to do the functions. We do it for everything, and we test it with everything. And this is how we can adapt it, refine it, changing every time. This is something, again, we want to be this approach as it is at our brain. So we're changing every time, adapting, challenging, solving problems. So this is the core that we have. And this is the thing that we say that, okay, maybe this is the algorithm for intelligence, for example, but that will mean that actually we're not as much intelligent that bacteria, because even bacteria can do this simple system with simple senses and or sensory organs. Yes, but this is the same process every time. Bees can do this. So the question that we have is, might be intelligence the only thing that is innate actually? Everything is being acquired through times and through experience, because this is a system designed to accumulate experience and to design new things in the time. But this simple algorithm seems to be working everyone. So we were like, okay, this is interesting. So when someone can come to me and say, oh, I'm so dumb, I say, no, you're not dumb, man. You're like super smart, but you don't know it yet. It's just, you have no idea how complex it is to walk around the street, how your machines that you have is like a Superman. We all like Supermans and superheroes, but it's just the habit that something is so easy that you think that is really simple. And this is why we're scared about robots and AI, because we do not trust our intelligence enough to say that, okay, so this is like a super thing. We can do magnificencies with this. So, and then we said, okay, so this is interesting. So I'm saying that we have like a core system to everyone, but in fact, everyone is different. Every brain is different. Every connectivity, every neural networks, everything in a human being is different than for a neighbor. So this system is just accumulating experience and design something that is hyper-specific, that is unique, that made Agnis, Avi, Stephen, William, this is you, this personality. So, and this is the language that you create for yourself. This is your logic. This is the thing that's something that it's yours, on your experience based on your interactivity with your environment. So this is kind of a thing that we call differentiated intelligence. And usually you talk about multiple intelligence, but how we believe is this is something that will be differentiated through experience. We prefer the term differentiated intelligence. So everyone has a different affinity with an environment, but that makes that, okay, so if something that is logic with me is not logic for you, so this is usually what I say. So if I tell you something and you do not understand, then the first guilty man is me, because I didn't explain it clear enough. Because I cannot expect you to say, okay, guys, there's a direct link between neuroscience and organization. So, bye-bye, why do you understand this? Because I didn't explain myself. I didn't explain the logic, the chain of cause and effect that made me come to this hypothesis. So the main question that we asked ourselves is, okay, that's cool, but when you're talking about organizations, people have to communicate and work together. So how do you work with collective intelligence with this? So we took some time and we designed tools actually to allow people to communicate and share their ideas, because usually we like to prevent of using more language, because when you use semantic language, then you have what we call interpretation bias. And this is the thing that creates war. Because actually, usually when you talk to someone with a different, for example, I can be a specialist, so I got an ego and I'm going to use some very specific term and scientific term that you guys won't understand. But I don't care, because it makes me feel good by myself. I'm good, I can use different words.
Yeah. Guillaume, how many minutes do you still have?
Oh shit, I talked too much. Okay, 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, I can finish. Sorry guys, I'll just, yeah.
Okay. Can you do it in 3?
I can do it in 3.
The 3 French minutes.
The 3 French minutes. So I'm going to go directly at the end, so because that would be more, I think. So the idea that we have is just we're studying organizations in the way as a body is constructed. For example, you have cells that made tissue that made organs that made bodies that made society. So what we're doing is just transporting techniques and way of the brain is organized to transpose them to organization and try to optimize them. Because we believe that innovation is not a matter of creativity, it's a matter of organization. And yeah, so this is kind of a social brain, and we use it as a moral person. So we're always talking about entity. So what is your personality and organization? And what we do, again, say we just studying a thing that we have like a network, like a neural network of human beings, which naturally emerge collective intelligence. But as we are an organization, so we are modifying different link between people. So we kind of doing like a collective artificial intelligence, because as the fact that we are changing things naturally with the will, then we create something that is artificial. And this is how we study organization. So this is has a program and developing program. And we're developing things to change the programming of the system. And this is what we do usually. We work on the foundation of every organization to help them grow, develop, and being more adaptive and learning. And we're designing like functional architecture of organization, information and knowledge system, and the most important, transdisciplinary project management, so everyone can work together as a team, as a community, and as a collectivity, which is this is the thing that prevents organizations to be more adaptive and more quick into the time reaction. So yeah, that was a quick jump to the end. Thank you guys. If you get any questions, I'm still here.
Voila. By the way, that's another one that I learned from French. So voila, that's a common phrase, right? So people use it many times, right?
It's kind of something like magic. So you can just, and then voila.
and if you separate it into two, what do you have?
If you what?
Separate the word in two. Can you do?
Voila, c'est see there.
It's a way, right? Wa. Way there.
Okay. Yeah.
The way is
exactly.
There. Or the way is here.
If you don't see it, then that's it.
Yes. Yeah. I would propose we jump to the third speaker, or if William wanted to say something before we jump to Stephen.
Yes.
Yeah, we can go to Stephen, but I just wanted to mention to say for the people who are English speaker online, we're just 2 or 3 people speaking French. So the website at the moment of the agency is in French, but it will be translated very soon in English. So what's Guillaume presented would be more accessible soon online. So please feel free to check the website in the coming months. So yeah, Stephen, maybe it's your turn now. So we'll leave the stage for you.
Yes, I think now it's a good time to give the floor to Stephen, to you. That's when I found your video, it caught me like, wow, I never thought about this. And I think for most of the people who come across your work and what you're going to tell today will be like, really? And that's why I really wanted you to speak with the audience and just take your 10 minutes, do your magic, and then after that we will have the open session for questions and answers for all of the speakers. Stephen. I don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I can't hear you, but I'll go with it. So my name, my company's name is Habit Lab, and I want to find the world's best habits and get people to do them. I've had a habit that changed my life that I'm very passionate about. I realized that knowing what people should do is not the problem. It's getting people to actually do it. So the habit that I have is called Xing. And before I can explain how it works, I have to explain how the sense of hunger works. First off, hunger is a sense. I know that because people say that they feel hungry. And senses are things that let us know what's going on in the environment. So there's things that will increase or decrease the sense of hunger. Now, what increases the sense of hunger is basically, you know what it is, smelling your favorite food. If you smell something that you recognize, you'll notice that hunger will increase instantly. Now, there's lots of different ways that we increase or decrease the sense of hunger. And there's 4 things that you need to do to increase the sense of hunger. I'll be talking about only 3 of them. It's flavor, energy, and time. So in order to increase the sense of hunger, you first need a memorable flavor. And so it needs to be something that you taste and know instantly what it is. You want to have it multiple times. If you had it multiple different times, you have a history of it. See, the sense of hunger goes back, it's directly linked to the sense of smell. And what it is it's such a primal instinct because all life has a sense of smell. And even single cell organisms will have a sense of smell. And we want to know what our food comes from. So we want to find a known food source. So once we have a nice memorable signal, That's the first part. The second part you need is energy. Now, the brain will process all the flavors and stuff, but the gut handles the gut brain handles the energy. And what it's looking for is food that it knows. And what it wants is energy that you can quickly identify. So that's why things like high glycemic index will increase hunger more. And foods that with a lower glycemic index, say fats, will actually be more satisfying and will actually keep you fuller. And so if you have a nice memorable flavor with a nice quick energy boost, the closer those things are together, the more of a connection that makes in the brain. Now, the thing about hunger that most people don't realize, and this is an important concept, is that the food you ate yesterday affects how you feel today. And the food you eat today will affect how you feel tomorrow. It's a continuous cycle, because we think of hunger as like hunger you feel right now, but it's really a wave that you ride up and down. And the foods that you ate in the past will predict what kind of foods you'll crave in the future. And the fascinating part is it's so important that our sense of flavor actually happens before we're born. They've done studies where kids in the womb, they'll feed the mother, say, carrots, and they'll test them afterwards, and they'll be more acceptable to like carrots. And that makes sense, because what you want to do is you want the mother to adapt to the food, the environment, so that way when you find that known foods, hunger will crave. The last one that you can modify hunger is the mind, but that's essentially for humans. So there's things that you can do with the mind, but the first three of them is essential for all life. All life needs to find a known food source and go back to it, because life wants to find a consistently known food source and be drawn back to it. It's a great strategy that all life follows. Now, the habit that I have is called Xing. And I named it after the unknown variable in math, X. And it's a habit that you do by eating unknown calories. If you eat something that's unknown today, then tomorrow your body will have a physical effect. It has a physical effect because it's the uncertainty that it wants to lower. You don't want to be craving the food. You don't be craving food when uncertainty is around. What you want to do is increase hunger when you are certain it is around. And that's the problem that I see right now. Number one, we don't think of hunger as a sense that we can change, but we're manufacturing food that's increasing people's sense of hunger. And it's just not the food that you eat right now. It's by eating the food right now, it's increasing people's hunger the next day. And we're basically creating this environment where all these people have these hungers turned up, and that's having a lot of negative health outcomes. So the things that I'm looking forward to and researching on is, one, the obvious one is obesity. Obesity is a large problem. But another thing is people with eating disorders. A lot of people, especially women, suffer with eating disorders, and it's a way to calm the sense of hunger. I've known people with bulimia, and they tend to talk about food a lot, so I'm assuming their hunger is turned up high. Another thing that affects me a lot is addiction. Hunger and addiction both come from the same part of the brain, the hypothalamus. I believe if you turn one down, you turn the other one down. Also, a possibility is just willpower. If you no longer crave food as much, then maybe you have more willpower. I also believe there's sleeping and a possible life extension, just because there's a correlation between what you eat and how long you live. And I believe that living with a lower sense of hunger for a long period of time has a positive health benefits to people. So that's the habit that I train people on, is Xing, and I'm very passionate about it because of what I believe it can do. But the thing is, it's not like a magic pill or anything. It's the only way that it works is you have to form the habit of doing it every single day, because you have to change your environment. Because if you want your body to change your senses, you have to change the environment. And that's where the habit comes in. And so there's a few habits that I teach. I believe I can teach anyone to eat anything they want to and maintain a healthy weight. There's other ones like just be mindful eating practices and stuff like that. But once you lower your sense of hunger where you don't crave this food as much, that's when you can see some really health benefits. So that's the general gist of my company. You can check it out, habitlab.com, habitlab-.com, and let me know what you think. All right, thank you.
Wonderful. That was quick. It sounds like you've been doing it. Oh, okay. So can you hear now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
All right. So I was saying thank you, and that was very quick and very precise and very kind of sharpened. It really proves that you've been doing it for a long enough time, so you exactly know what you're doing and how does it work and what's happening with our food production and how the hunger is triggered and how that correlates with the brain functionalities. And yes, I think what would be possibly the next interesting aspect in this community if there would be technology emerging that would helping you to deliver your knowledge or integrate your knowledge into the tech that people could be using. I don't know what it could be, but that's just I'm throwing it out because technology is an amplifier, and whatever we create as a knowledge and a wisdom, we can amplify using technologies and using that. But maybe one question to start. So now it's an open question and answer session, so you can give any answer to any question. But Avi raised the hand, and I will let you to go first.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve. It was really ignited my curiosity, and I love your Xing habit because obviously eating different foods will enrich in our microbiota, and the variety of the microbiota is correlated with, among others, with immunity and health. And it's something that probably most of us don't practice, and we eat tomorrow what we ate yesterday. And I'm always curious about connecting that to health and resilience, you know. So the question is, and obviously most of us nowadays don't even know what hunger is. We don't eat because we're hungry, and we eat too much. We eat over too many hours. And I assume you all know, you know, the research about the intermittent fasting and how healthy it is. So the question, I think, and obviously the manipulation of industries, if I may. So it's almost like I would ask you, how could you assist to develop foods that would allow people to eat less often, a bigger variety, because this is one of the factors that will contribute to health and well-being.
Yeah. So as far as variety, you're right. So that's why they say eat a varied diet, because you want to eat multiple things, because if you eat the same things over and over again, it's going to increase hunger. But as far as food, I already know how Xing is how to eat unknown foods. And so it's not about the food itself, even though there's foods that I want to develop. It's more about getting people to actually do it. So I know how to make the food. I just, I need to get the concept out there first, because I can't sell something that no one knows to buy. So. But I sell what works on my website, so that way people don't have to mess with it. So
Good.
Yeah, that's market education. That's we don't know what we don't know. That's
yes.
I developed a lot of white hair from that.
Yeah, Guillaume.
And as you said, hunger is like one of our primitive senses, which is one of with our core. So it's one of our internal sensation, interoception, and stuff, and it's always really linked to the emotions. Because this is a question that when you coach and you work with the persons, have you seen emotional modulations? And if yes, in what sense? Are they really more, is it anger? Is it stress? It is what kind of emotion? Just it's kind of more linked to the hunger sensation. If you have seen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that everyone's sense of hunger, they start off differently, because my sense of hunger and your sense of hunger is going to be different. There's some genetic things where people are going to be born with a higher sense of hunger, and some people are naturally going to be low. So some people who do this, they won't feel much of an effect, versus other people, they'll do it and it'll make them feel really ill, because the opposite of hunger is nausea. So the part of it is you have to find the right amount of unknown food. So you have to find where you're at. But as far as the effect, it has, you're right. When she turns your hunger down, it affects, because if you think you're hungry, imagine someone's who's hungry, there's more irritable, they're more, they might change their shopping behavior. So there's a lot of things that having your hunger turned up, it's too hard for me to analyze that because I'm more concerned about getting them to do it and not making them sick, and then teaching them how to eat mindfully. So there is, I do believe there is some changes in all, especially when it comes to drinking, because I've done this with people and I don't say anything and I just ask them about the drinking and I watched it go down. So it's one of those things that there is a lot of things that go on, but I don't know exactly what yet. That's why I want to study it.
Good. And my personal question to you, Steven, is what do you think about intermittent fasting? If you have any opinion.
Yeah, so intermittent fasting is a perfect example how hunger is a sense that people can change. So there's lots of different ways people can change the sense of hunger. One way is diets, but another way is intermittent fasting. You can adjust basically how hungry you get, or you can just when you get hungry. So basically intermittent fasting is you're pushing all your time to a small window where your hunger will rise. And then it takes a few days to, a while to get there. But I mean, eating 3 meals a day is something that we all made up. Our ancestors went days and days without eating, without blinking an eye. So intermittent fasting is a way to basically keep your hunger at one point. And I think it's easier for people to control it because they know they have this window to eat versus saying no to the donuts in the afternoon because you just don't feel hungry. So it's just another example that hunger is a sense that people change.
Exactly. Because I work on behavior change and transformation myself, so I'm the best subject for all of these experiments. So my last experiment is intermittent fasting. So I'm doing it. So I have this window between 12, like noon and 6. Mm-hmm. So 6 hours, and 18, no. And then the logic goes crazy. 18 hours. Oh, you can do it. And you just start pushing the evening first. After 6, nothing, and then you lift up the morning and done. Yep. So it's exactly what you said. We know what to do. We know how to do it. It's how to integrate that into your lives. And this is what I'm hacking on myself right now. And it goes quite well.
Yeah, yep, it's a good way. Whatever you can do to lower your sense of hunger, because basically hunger will have waves, and if imagine the smaller the wave that you can have instead of going up and down, you could have a smaller wave versus go up and once. I think living with the lower sense of hunger is generally healthier. And so that's a great way to do it.
Here is a question in the chat. So Rachel, if you would like to ask your question, you can also unmute yourself. But if you don't,
Sure, yeah, hi.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a Ayurvedic wellness counselor and actor and filmmaker. Thank you guys for all your insights. This is really wonderful. My question is to Steve. I'm curious if you've incorporated body constitutions or flavor balance into the work that you do, because it sounds very much like, yeah, I'm just so curious if you even know about it or it's something you've incorporated, because it has changed my life ever since I got into Ayurveda. And I actually had a very bad eating disorder, and just balancing the flavors has really changed my circumstances. So I was so curious about that. And then I had a side question about transformative tech and the membership. I also don't really have any tech involved with the work that I do. However, I love the community. I like the people a lot. So I was curious what the benefits are of being a member.
So Steve will go first, and then I will respond about the community.
I actually haven't heard about that, and actually I'm going to do research when I'm done. Or I like to connect with you to learn more because it sounds interesting. Because it sounds like you're adjusting with flavor, and flavor is a way to change your sense of hunger. I don't talk about diet because I'm not a dietitian. My only diet advice is you have to eat vegetables. That's the only thing that I talk about. My thing is eating is forming habits and eating something that's unknown. And then the best advice I can ever give people is eat vegetables. So I try not to talk about diet as much as possible. I just talk about adding some unknown calories into your diet. But I would like to learn more about the thing you said. So.
Great. Well, I'll put my site in and we can at least communicate together.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I would like to conclude with answering about the community, because that was usually what I'm explaining in a conclusion. So if there are any other questions, so I would suggest that we take them now, and then I will answer the question about the community as we are closing this.
Hi, everyone. I have a question. I'm Celine from Lebanon. I guess I suppose that when we are faced with a traumatic situation, we start taking ourselves more seriously and we become a bit more self-aware. And this raises a certain energy that is generated, and it sort of augments our senses and sense of urgency to do something and find the solution. I was wondering if anybody, if Avi or Guillaume have done some research or have insights on how to tap into this energy without having this traumatic experience, or tapping into it again and again, that will eventually get us into the sense of flow and to help us to get this laser sharp focus again, so that we can help people do what they want in life. And this is sort of part of what I'm trying to do for my startup. So if I make sense in my question. Or
Yes, it does. The thing, and I think Avi has a more deep, because he experienced it more than me. When you are in this kind of environment, and this is like an instinct coming up that you have to survive, and this is triggered and to find a solution. And if you're a scientist, then you try to understand it and how you can manage it. The other thing that actually I found through the research and the work that we've done through improvisation, when you improvise on something and that you're connected to, then at a certain point you do not feel time anymore. You do not be in something, and you're just focusing on finding the solutions. And improvisation is about finding a solution with the unexpected events. So you generated the unexpected, then you created the solutions behind it, which create the unexpected. And this relations that you do when you create your environment, then helps you gather and learning at the same time of creating. And then you're accumulating new experiences, then in very short amount of time, then you're generating a lot of solutions coming up. And it's actually when you do something very fast, and just at this moment something is click, connected, and then you found it. It's really short, but you have this thing when you do not think anymore. It's just your guts coming up, intuition coming up, and then you have it for a short moment of time. When talking about the flow, is really very short. But this very short time, then this is an extraordinary feeling, and second, this is when you find interesting solutions, and after you can develop. So I don't know what have you think about it.
thank you.
Maybe Celine. Hi, good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Curious to see, because Celine, I tried to mentor her in the TTA a year ago. Regarding traumas, first of all, we all have traumas, and I think all of these traumas take some of our energies. Many of them we are even unaware, and some of them we are aware. I don't know what's worse. I'm really curious to find the technology that could actually map, and there are people that can basically map and process past traumas, but I'm very curious of a technology that will be able to do that, because I think that it's a very common issue. Obviously, we have different sensitivities, etc. So some of us feel it more and some less, but really curious to know, maybe offline, how is your startup progressing?
Okay, sure. I mean, this is just going to be a little bit of an element that I'm hoping if I find the answer to it, it will help with my, you know, my startup is all about Ikigai and helping people find their reason for being. So one of the questions that would help is the traumas and the difficulties they had to go through. But I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not in that field. So I'm just, this is why I joined this talk, just to gain more insights. But I'm working with psychologists, and especially they're approaching Viktor Frankl's approach of meaning of life and how to deal with this issue. But yes, I'm happy to update you with my startup. Thank you.
You see, for neuroscience is just a bunch of hypotheses, and this is science. This is a biological math machine, and there's a lot of things that that help you understand how the mind works. Because neuroscience is about how the brain works as a machine, but the mind is something that goes beyond the brain and somehow. So all the research that you can have that go beyond this will help you find the answer you I think you seek. But yeah, neuroscience is really interesting to know the basics, but even I'm a neurobiologist and I do not trust it very much on something. So exploring the other fields, psychology is one of them, anthropology is really going to help you, and maybe sometimes more than studying neuroscience into this thing. This is the one of the bottom ups of some of my research in the subject.
Sorry, you got cut for the last bit, but it's fine.
Yes, and you can certainly catch up anytime, right? So all the links are in the chat. Everyone can find on the network. The beauty of 21st century. Maybe the beauty, maybe the disaster, depends how we take it. The internet. Well, I think usually I try to keep it within an hour, knowing that we can go for forever. And forever means next event. Next event most likely will come up after the nice weather. We'll leave the, what's that? The northern hemisphere, and we'll go to the southern hemisphere. So around that time, there will be the fourth event. Let's see if it will be physical in Paris somewhere, or we will keep the virtual. We'll see, depends, we will decide. Maybe we will have both, who knows? And therefore I would love to conclude and also answer the question that was already asked before. So coming back to what is this whole community and what means to be a member of the community. So just to quickly recall, the community is all about one mission: bring 2 billion people to the state of well-being and flourishing by 2050. Simple as that. And for that, we need great people which are knowledgeable about technologies, about human change, about transformation, about brain science, about physiology, and all of the other people that can contribute their energy in a forms of money, energy in a form of time, energy in a form of inspiration, teamwork, leadership, and so forth. So it's a voluntary network of people dedicating their lives and energies for improving the quality of what we experience on this planet. What I've just shared, you see, this is the event we had today. It's on NeuroSmart, July 9th. The speakers, thank you, all the speakers. It was very nice to have the concentrated perspective, because I met with you previously, but now I had your presentation delivery, which is very nice and a very good summary. So we'll answer the question, what is for the members? The first membership is free. So you get the access to this website, which is a platform. And here I've just opened the group, which is for the TransTech Paris. And you can see the events. So the previous event was on June 4. And now we have today on July 9th, NeuroSmart, the third one. And then we have the chat, and then people can exchange. Happy to join, happy to contribute, happy to share, happy to propose, all of those things. And then we also have the more advanced memberships, and they were introduced recently, earlier this year. There is advanced membership for $15 a month, and there is this full membership. And there are people who are signing up for that. There are specific extra activities for these people. And as a one-go activities, because I'm doing it, I can explain how it works. For the full members is the series of pods. Pods are a series of events run by some of the experts. They're speaking about their topic, and that's delivered for the people that have the full membership. And as an example, I do run one pod, and this pod is about transformation gene, which I lead. And for example, the next it will be about typology of change with me. And I'm going to speak about 3 types of change: transaction, transition, transformation. And that will happen on the 14th of July. So that's kind of one example, what can members get. So the first basic membership for free, you join, you connect, you interact, do your contribution, do your networking. And then there are 2 extra memberships depending on how far you want to go. And these are the videos where I explain, and I mentioned that there is a YouTube channel, also my YouTube channel, where I put up these videos from the pods and also from other TransTech events. So you see the same image over here, typology of change. And if you look at the corners, for example, here in the middle, it's TransTech from July 9th, and also the first pod, TransTech gene. So you can find those either on my YouTube channel, or this is the TransTech YouTube channel with all of the activities. You can go there, you can watch all of the recordings. So the previous recordings you can see from TransTech Paris is over here, the second event, calming wearables. And the same way, this recording that we are recording right now will be available also on this channel. And here on the left-hand side, you see TransTech Paris Lounge. So here I would like to conclude today's great experience. I always enjoy, because I feel like we are in the close connection with the like-minded people. And what else can we wish for a human being to be together with like-minded others? I think that's the best, one of the best states we can be. So I would say thank you once again. Merci beaucoup. What would be the see you soon, à tout à l'heure, or à bientôt? What would be the best?
À bientôt.
À bientôt. À tout à l'heure, that's in a few hours, right?
Let's all meet for a drink.
So à bientôt, and see you after a short period of time, which we usually call summertime. All right, take care.